let's go a little closer to my home here. Ole Miss. You and I saw them the last time they played. We were on the field in Oxford in the rain, in the celebration. You were hanging out with Deuce Knight. They are now back, and they're going to Gainesville, where Florida just beat LSU. Ole Miss is a 9.5-point favorite in this game. Ole Miss just has to win out. I think we both agree that if Ole Miss wins out, they are going to make the college football playoffs. So they got to beat Florida, and they got to win the Egg Bowl against Mississippi State. They should feel pretty good about this. But should they be worried about a Florida team that just beat LSU?
I'm 1,000% in on the Ole Miss bandwagon now. Like, I don't know if you've been able to detect that through our conversations about the playoff and stuff. Ole Miss is my SEC horse. If I were to place a futures bet right now for any SEC team to win the national title, I'm going Ole Miss. I bet it's the best odds, and I think they've got the best pieces to do it. So, Andy, I'll ask you this. Like, Florida did beat LSU.
Mm-hmm.
How good are they, actually? Like, I know DJ Lagway is a sensational player, but how good are the Gators? Like,
better than they were at the beginning of the season, especially on the lines of scrimmage. I think Florida's D-line showed up big in that LSU game, because that's an LSU offense that has not given up a lot of sacks. They'd only given up 6 sacks coming into the game. Florida had 7 in that game, and most of them were in the second half. It was bizarre. Like, it's not something they've done all year. But I would say that a lot of that, and we'll talk about LSU and Vanderbilt in a few minutes, but I think a lot of that is LSU. I don't know if all of that is Florida being better. And DJ Lagway is certainly great. I think I sang his praises pretty effusively on the show Saturday night. But he's also playing on one leg. He's not as mobile as he normally is. And I think against a team like Ole Miss, that's a problem. Like, if I'm Billy Napier, I'm pretty careful with DJ Lagway, because I'd rather have him go shred Florida State and get bowl eligible that way if this game's getting away from you. Because that Ole Miss pass rush is nasty. They lead the nation in sacks. They lead the nation in sacks per game. You and I saw it up close. Like, it is a great defensive line. You know, I like, after seeing that and seeing the way Ole Miss has played the last few weeks, it's so much more baffling that they lost to Kentucky. It makes no sense. Like, the LSU loss, you kind of get. You let LSU hang around in Tiger Stadium. Garrett Nussmeier's a really good quarterback. Like, that one you can kind of understand. The Kentucky loss, I do not understand, but it's entirely possible that this Ole Miss team is not that Ole Miss team anymore.
Yeah, so I'm looking at college football national champion futures right now, and Ole Miss is 9-1. And just for, comparison's sake, Alabama is 7-1. Indiana is 22-1. Georgia is 4-1. Ohio State is 2.5-1. Oregon is 4-1.
I'd be as confident in Ole Miss as I would in any of those other teams.
Tennessee is 36-1, which is kind of an interesting thing, but they might not make the playoff at this point. And then Texas A&M is 80-1. But of all the ones that I just named, which is like Georgia, is 4-1. Like, I would be as confident in Ole Miss doing it as Georgia would, and they are getting twice the odds. Like, for me, like, that is the most attractive national championship future if you want to put one in on November 18th.
I would agree with you there, because I would put that roster up against anybody's roster. Now, again, the Kentucky game gives you pause, because there is the possibility they just don't show up. But
I think we're past that, though. Like, I think we're like in November. My hope is, and that's not just for an Ole Miss thing. Like, I just think like every team that's in the playoff, like, if you like, one of the benefits of the hope of the playoff in the sales pitch, Andy, has always been, think about how many great games we're going to get in November that are going to matter for all these teams. Like, they need to,
but it's still possible that somebody doesn't play a good game. Like, somebody may lay an egg. Like, it doesn't mean there won't be any blowouts or surprising results.
I think laying an egg and not showing up are different. I just mean like mentally locked in for the game. Like they're like, for instance, like Ole Miss losing to Kentucky is kind of like the same result as some other team just getting upset at home by a team that they weren't taking seriously. Like, I think the not taking your opponent seriously shit's over. Like, we're at the point now where everybody should be locked in. That doesn't mean you're going to play well, but like Ole Miss with a pass rush going against a quarterback that is semi-injured and really young, plus an offense that I think is going to be able to score 30 or 35 points. Like, this seems to me like an easy Ole Miss play. And like, Ole Miss could win by 10 and Florida could play its ass off. But I don't know. I think that Ole Miss is ascending and Florida is playing much better, but Florida still is a pretty limited team in terms of like when they're on the field with a team that we think can win the national title. Like 10 points is, I'm happily going to lay the 10.
You just said it, Ari. Florida could play its ass off and Ole Miss could still win by 10. That's why you take Ole Miss to cover in this game. Like, I will also take Ole Miss to cover because that roster is just better.
And like,
and if DJ Lagway is fully healthy, I consider taking Florida in this game. But on one leg against that pass rush, like he would have to produce a legendary passing performance to
Andy,
make this work.
And I don't want to be mean. Okay, here, Zach.
Yeah.
I love Lane, but there's only so much he can do with Ole Miss's talent. Like, buddy, I'm telling you, Zach, Ole Miss has as much talent as anybody.
Is Zach trying to say Ole Miss does not have talent?
I don't know if he thinks it's 2017, but Ole Miss has a lot of really good players.
If he thinks that. So
anyway, okay. But yeah, Ole Miss is my pick here.
Yeah, I would agree. Ole Miss to cover. And, if you're Billy Napier, you got your LSU win. You're probably going to beat Florida State. Like, you're fine. You don't have to worry about this one. If you lose this one, I think everybody's expecting that. But we'll find out. Oh, Zach saying, he went to the other site and it's 20th in the talent composite. Zach, there's this thing called the transfer portal. And there may be some guys who are not big-time recruits who became really good college players that Ole Miss bought this offseason. And, yeah, their players are as good as anybody's. So
Trey Harris was.
Thanks for trying, Zach.
Trey Harris, I was a player rated outside of the top 2,000 on both sites, I think.
Yeah. Trey Harris is one of the best receivers in college football. So it also has more to do with how good they are now. And I say, look, I realize we work for a recruiting site, but I would argue that our recruiting site has done a pretty good job of adjusting to the way rosters are built now. Because what Ole Miss has done is they wait and figure out if you're good now, and then they buy you. So
hey, is like Walter Nolan? Walter Nolan is factored into that.
He was a 5-star,
right? Yeah, I know, but he's factored into that ranking, right? Because
he is factored into it. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.